Hey guys, this is Roth, and I am here with the wonderful and beautiful Galen Hurd, producer of The Walking Dead. Thank you very much. Among a million other things. My God, what a career.
Thank you. You know, it just means I'm old.
No, it means you're accomplished. I swear, I look at your IMDb and I'm like, where has my life gone? What have I done? It's wonderful. So let's talk about the season is going to premiere. Season 4 premieres this Sunday. Are you excited?
I am. 9 o'clock, AMC, be there, because you don't want any spoilers if you don't see it tomorrow night. You will have to avoid social media until you do.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, I've seen it, and you will. It's true. There's going to be a lot of talk. Let's just talk in general terms about the upcoming season, because we've kind of talked about this before. Every season sort of has a thematic, you know what I mean? I think season 1 was really reconnecting in the face of disaster and who are you really, discovering who you really are. And season 2 was, can you have a life in the midst of all this death? Of course, season 3 was the human danger, the danger within. What can we sort of expect thematically out of this season?
This season, I think the theme is, can you come back from some of the things that you've done? Once you've gone beyond those moral boundaries, can you be saved? Should you be saved? Is there a second chance?
You know what's great? I love hearing that, because that's such a human question. I think we ask ourselves that as human beings, even leading very ordinary lives. But what ties in so beautifully into the show is that works for the governor. You know, we don't know, is there redemption there for him? And for Carl.
Yes, and even for Rick, who was not going to win any Parent of the Year awards from last season. So will Rick and Carl be able to reconnect? Will Carl be able to rediscover the childhood that he never really had, given that in the last episode of season 3, he'd killed a young man who may really have been surrendering?
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, I still contend he did the right thing, because in this world, it did look like he was maybe aggressing, but maybe that makes me an evil person. I'm not sure. That's some of the questions that the show has you ask. You know, Rick also, Andrew Lincoln has talked about how Rick is going to be focusing more on parenting and pulling away a little bit about leadership this season. Can you talk a little bit about what new kind of leadership qualities may emerge in other characters?
Well, you know, everyone in this world has to be a leader, because at times they're going to find themselves on their own. The most difficult thing, though, will be, how do you lead within a group, especially a group that was shooting at each other at the end of last season, you know, and they all almost have blood on their hands. So we'll find leadership abilities in some characters that from the first season you would never have imagined it, like the character of Carol. The character of Tyrese, who we'll come to know a great deal more this season, as well as Daryl and Sasha.
Yeah, it's funny. Fans are going to be so excited about Tyrese, fans of the comic series. But Carol has already had kind of a tremendous evolution. If you think about it, where she started and where she is now, I mean, is that just going to keep going and going?
Well, you know, Carol has probably, other than maybe Daryl, who doesn't talk about his background very much, except we got a few hints when he was with his brother Merle, we know what Carol's been through. And, you know, and she has been to a dark place. She was perhaps in denial of that for a long time, the way that abused people are. But now she's going to have an opportunity to reconnect and possibly even reconnect with younger folk after, of course, she lost Sophia.
You know, well, there's going to be more children coming in, and
Yes.
I think that's going to be interesting for Carl, because they have been a little bit more sheltered in Woodbury. How's that going to kind of challenge him?
You know, Carl is caught in the middle. Carl is perhaps too young to be a child, but not old enough to be an adult. So he's really in the middle there. You know, it's essentially, he's a teenager, and teenagers in the apocalypse, it's a very difficult balance that they have to try to achieve.
The other thing, just swinging back to leadership just a little bit, I think what's been so great about the series, that of course it was Rick versus Shane, Rick versus Herschel, Rick versus the governor. At a certain point, do you go, wait a minute, can't we just have a democracy? I mean, that's what we have.
You know, that's something that they may very well try this season. Isn't it better to have majority rule? But honestly, you can only have majority rule when you're in a safe environment. And we'll see how long the safe environment of the prison lasts and what happens when the world potentially goes to hell again.
And we know that it will. The title of the premiere is 30 Days Without an Accident. Well, then what happens?
Probably not 31 days without an accident is my guess.
It's probably going to be a lot of stuff at once. But, here's the other interesting thing. There's about, just not to belabor the point of leadership, but of course, as you know, Daryl is really the one that has been, the fans just love him, right?
Yeah, I've already seen a number of if Daryl dies, we riot shirts all over New York Comic Con. I feel that I probably would have to get security.
You would.
Yeah.
I know you would. Do you guys feel that? I mean, do you sort of, how much does that weigh into the creative process when you see that fan reaction, especially an event like this?
You know, we have to be true to the storytelling, mm-hmm. and of course, the interesting thing is that Daryl is not a character from the comic book.
I know. So
he can have a very interesting trajectory. And I think he already has to a great degree. And we'll see a lot more of that this season.
Is everyone really at risk? I mean, could Rick come out of the picture?
Well, let's think about the comic book versus the TV series. Yeah. And Andrea is still alive in the comic book. Obviously, spoiler for those of you who haven't kept up to speed on the comic book, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary, by the way.
Congratulations.
But we do make decisions that are very controversial, and we don't do it for reasons of let's just shock people. It really is, how is that death going to affect the survivors? And has that character reached a point where, it makes sense that they're not coming back? Although I never feel that way about any of the characters. Clearly the people in the writer's room do.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about another character that has had some shifts from the comic to the television adaptation. That's the governor. Such an interesting portrayal, which I think is what led so much to being such an interesting character, in part. Where can he fit in? He's really the one that it's like, can he come back from that?
Right. How far off the reservation has he gone when we left season 3 with him shooting his own people? So, that would be quite a redemption story. And you never know if that's something we're going to try or not. But we have such a fantastic actor in David Morrissey. That I know he's game for anything.
I would love to. Personally, just as a fan, I would love to see that happen. I would love to see that evolve. And the show is such a juggernaut, as you know. What do you think? We've talked about the way that it resonates before. And one of the things is just zombies and what zombies represent. In the Romero days, it was sort of consumerism. You talked about how this is kind of like representing a fear that we have in our culture of loss of control. Do you think that's evolved at all over the seasons?
I think we have taken people, as we did the character of Rick last season, to Crazy Town. He was seeing visions of his dead wife, Lori. He was answering phones that could not possibly have been ringing and talking to people like Lori, who couldn't possibly be on the other end of the phone. And, we do push people as far as possible. And yet there is the possibility of hope for them to come back, for love to thrive among the ruins. And that, I think, is a comment about human nature, is that regardless of where we find ourselves, the positive attributes that we have, the need for community and connection, will always exist.
Yeah, and you mentioned the idea of hope because I've been thinking about that. I remember in the teaser there was that little they heard on the radio that little bit of those who arrive survive, those who arrive survive, and it's so poetic. Is that the beacon of hope this season? Is that the idea, that carrot at the end of the string?
Is there
a safe place?
Well, if you read the comic book, you find safe havens for a time. The farm was a safe haven for a time. But it wouldn't be The Walking Dead if it was always safe all the time. And boy, did the fans let us know that. But at the same time, you have to survive every day. The minute you let your guard down, then you truly are prey for other humans and obviously the dead.
We're very excited about this. It's so funny that you mentioned this, fans. What is it like for you here?
It's great. I'm not recognized because I'm not in front of the camera, but it's amazing to see the love that the fans have for the show and for the cast, and we all give it right back because we wouldn't be here. We would have, if we hadn't had the kind of response and love, we wouldn't be here. So there's not a day that goes by that we don't appreciate the fans that made sure that we had a fourth season and hopefully a fifth and many more to come.
Well, you're very busy, as we know, but you also have at USA, there's a pilot order, Horizon. This sounds like it's Carrie Elwes is starring.
Yes.
It's kind of a period thriller. Can you talk about it a little bit?
Sure. It's something very new for USA. It takes place in 1942. The world is at war, and we're with an FBI field office in Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. And a wonderful Irish actress, Ruth Bradley, plays the character of Lauren, who's a secretary whose husband, played by the amazing Taylor Handley, disappears in the Pacific. And she comes to realize that it may be connected to an alien spacecraft sighting locally.
So this is a period genre show.
It is period and genre, which there hasn't been a lot of, and I'd like to think that we are trailblazing something new for USA as well as for me.
And is this production's complete?
We are in post-production. I go back to Los Angeles, back to the editing room.
Okay. I'm very excited to see some of that.
And I'd like to say that the show is written by a fantastic woman, Bridget Tyler, and directed by Yves Simoneau, who directed the pilots for V as well as the 4400.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so he knows his sci-fi.
So, all right, you also have, of course, the companion series. Are you excited about that?
I am. We're at very early stages. We've been so busy with this season, we really haven't been able to put a lot of our effort into that. But this season wraps up right before Thanksgiving, and then we'll start thinking about that full time.
Great. Well, we are looking forward to, thank you so much. We're looking forward to season 4. We're looking forward to seeing Horizon, and we're looking forward to the spin-off companion series when we see that. What's more to come in this world? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, and I'm really excited about the panel.
Yeah, we are too. The panel happens tonight. I'm going to be there.
It's brace yourself. We have a lot of fun stuff for the fans.